they had this traditional BA role. So they depend on what organization needs are, what technical skills you need. But most of the part,
Hmm.
you don't need to code as a traditional BA.
I wanted to understand, a lot of people think that if you are into tech, you are in the best domain, you get the best pay, and you get to do a lot of nice work, innovative work. But you transition from tech to non-tech, like from coding, you wanted to come into business analyst role. So I want to understand, why did you make that decision, and how did you prepare?
I think I'm getting burnt out because I'm submitting it, I'm doing the deadlines are solving and everything is going, but
For example, because people who are looking to the podcast, maybe some are from tech, some are from non-tech, so for us to tell them clearly that what all skill sets they have to develop, I would want you to talk about the hard skills as well. And is it actually needed in the role? That's the major question, that even if you know good coding, is it required in your day-to-day life?
started mapping out what skills I already have and what are the gaps I need to fill.
Hi everyone, my name is Shivangi Tiwari and welcome back to my channel. In today's podcast, we have Bhavna with us. So she started her journey as a software engineer but then transitioned into business analyst. So a lot of you want to understand what is business analyst all about, what is the role all about, like how do you come into this field, do you need a specific background to come into this field, and a lot of more questions related to business analyst. So we have the right guest today. So without any further ado, let me call Bhavna on my channel and do all the discussion related to how did she do the transition, what should be a roadmap if you are preparing for a business analyst role. And this podcast is going to be in English. So yeah, let me welcome Bhavna. Hi Bhavna, how are you doing?
Hi Shivangi, I'm doing great. Thank you so much. How are you doing?
I'm doing great too. So Bhavna, I want to know your journey and your transition into business analyst. So let's start with your early career. How did you start your career?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the question. So, I started my career in India. So, I did my bachelor's in India from computer science and then came to US for my master's in computer science as well. So, it is not a very big, well known college. When I joined it, it's like a tier 3 college in India. So, I got my bachelor's, master's in computer science, and then I joined my first company as a software engineer. Of course, like that's the traditional path everyone suggests you when you are doing computer science, right? So I started my career as a software engineer, then transitioned into business analyst. So yeah, that's very high level picture of what I'm currently doing and how did I get here.
So how did you get your first job? Was it on campus?
So my first job is the placement, I would say. So back in India, I worked for a tech company for 6 months while I was waiting on my visa. But then my official big tech company in US is Amazon. So that I got an opportunity while I'm in my second semester in my master's. So that was pretty quick.
Got it. So, to be honest, if I say you did not really do a job over here in India, it's like you got it, but you were anyways preparing for your master's at that time, if I'm not wrong.
Absolutely. I would definitely say yes because I was not even into a complete project or where I worked for 6 months. So I was just in the training period. So I would say that that doesn't count as a work experience for me. Yes.
Okay, okay. So I want to understand more on this, that what made you decide that you want to go for masters, because you completed your computer science degree over here only. So it would have been easier to get the job, and then maybe after 2 3 years, because it's easier to get the PR also once you go after certain experience. So why did you immediately took that leap, and what was the main thought behind
Yeah,
it? Yeah.
absolutely. So this all about the US has come to me very quickly because from my childhood I was the only child, so I always told my parents that I'm not going to go to US, I'm going to stay here because all of my cousins were in US, most of them are. So they were doing very well in tech, and my parents have this dream of me getting higher education, but I was like, I'm going to just stay here, do the job, stay with you all, and this is what I did. But during my college there is one company, like a coaching program, they have provided more information on higher education. So they came to our college in 2018 and they have started explaining what higher education can do and how you can get there and what are the perks and how you can build your career around that, how professional you can become. So then I went and I talked with them. Like we had a 1 hour session just explaining what my goals are for the future, because I'm into computer science and this is so and so I want to do. So then they suggested me few programs and also the masters in computer science in the US. And they gave me options like why would masters in US would be a good option rather than taking a job in the India at that time. So that is how the seed has been sown into my mind. So after that I took their coaching program and I got to write IELTS, GRE, which are the basic exams for US, to enter US. So yeah, so basically I really wanted to experience the culture for sure, because being an only child, I was very introverted. I was completely introverted and I didn't have that exposure. So first thing I want to have that international exposure and want to test myself with professional and personal level. Can I thrive in the world? Because I've seen the competition in India too. For the jobs when I was completing my bachelor's, there was good competition over there. So I was like, how about I get more into my skills and learn more about it? So then higher education is my option. Yes.
Got it, got it. So a lot of people think about like doing higher education, but apart from the exams that you have to qualify to get certain colleges outside, there are other barriers too. So what according to you are those challenges which you would have faced too when you decided to go? Because clearing the exam is just one part,
Correct.
right? Like understanding the finances, economically putting yourself in that position that you go abroad and study. How did you manage all of that?
No, that's a really great question, because I know because of that coaching program or because of my friends or because of my parents, I have decided that I'm going to go to US, right? But there are, that's writing an exam is just, I would say, like 10% of what the
Yeah.
challenges. It's definitely not the main thing. The finances, as you mentioned, the mental challenge, the physical challenges you have, and
Yeah.
being a only child, you have to navigate everything on your own. Like, I have never been in a hostel, I have never been away from my parents. I have always been a day scholar. My father used to drop me, even in my bachelor's, he used to drop me at the college station and stuff. So I never thought about what's coming next, but I knew that I need to do this. So financially, like, my father was very supportive and my parents were really supportive in that case. Like, okay, don't think about anything else, just think what you're going to do, like why you want to go to US. So that's the question they asked, because even though it's their dream, they were like, just think about why you want to go to US and why do you want to pursue education, like higher education. Because that's the question you need
Right.
to ask yourself, and that's also one of the question that visa immigration officers ask you. So that is something that my father has asked me, like why you are doing this. Because financially you have to
Got
be,
it.
you're taking loan and you will be responsible, solely responsible to pay it back,
Yeah.
and all the circumstances. But you have to
Right, right.
understand, would you be able to get a job if you pursue higher education? So there are a lot of mental struggle, like literally I went through a lot,
Yeah.
and it's a complex process. But I definitely have a strong support system, so I would suggest anyone to ask for help, have that support system build before coming to US or before going to any country other than your home country for higher education. Build that system.
Yeah, yeah. So of course, family support matters the most. So I would want you to like give advice to people in a way that, let's say they have completed their bachelor's and in any degree and they're getting a job. So what should they select? Though if they want to do like masters or any other higher education, should they opt for, in the current scenario, should they opt for the US? And if yes, then what is the whole process? What does the whole process look like? Or if no, because of the situations that Trump has created, you can tell that as well to us clearly, because you are residing there. We are just checking the news and everything.
Yes, that is the most question I get from my younger cousins and younger friends too, because I have seen people getting good package jobs in India, and they're still
Right.
trying to pursue masters here. Like, in the US, and we hear every day a new news every week. There's a new rule that's coming up, and how everything's going. So to be very honest, I have a different perspective about job situation right now in the US, because there are jobs. Like, I've been talking to a lot of public figures and also my mentors, and I've been talking to many professionals recently because of the situations that happening around here. And I have come to know that there are jobs, of course, but there is so much of strategy you have to build around it, because it's not just you decide that you come to US, you complete an education and then you get a job. No, from day one you have to be ready to struggle with two things. Of course, definitely a struggle is one is visa bounce, and the second one is how strategic you can become in your job search. Because I have seen people in my circle who are very strategic and who are switching jobs and loving what they're doing and getting into what they are really into. And I have seen people who are still struggling to get jobs after layoffs or of the situation right here in the US, right? So I would definitely suggest them to be very strong minded, because that is the first thing. You will have visa struggles for sure, because not every company will sponsor you. And on top of that, Trump's new regulations about H1B, and you need to be very professionally withstand to get that 100K sponsored by the employer to you. So there are so many things that coming up. So I would say you have to be very very strategic from day one. Definitely not like you come here and you enjoy during your masters and then start the job search. No. So you have to be doing it from day one. Build your network, talk to people, talk to your seniors, understand their how the path is going on and how to overcome the challenges. There's where there's a will, there is a way is a kind of a thing I go through. There's always a thing that will challenge you,
Yeah.
but you have to find ways to get through it. Because even I'm on my work visa, right?
Right,
Even I'm
right.
on my work visa,
Right.
but I did transition into what I love from where I was burnt out previously, but I successfully transitioned because I built my network, I have mentors, I have people to look back. So I have been into that strategic journey in transitioning.
So, moving to a new country, or for that matter, staying in our own country, there are pros and cons of everything. But mostly people think that there is a huge difference in the salary that we get over here in India for a particular job role versus the one that we are going to get abroad. So, can you tell me that what, like considering your role and your company only, what is the pay scale in the US and what is it here in India?
Absolutely.
Of course, you have to also tell the expenditures as well, because there the expenditure must be too much too.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a great question because I'm learning a lot about finances right now. I'm in that current stage, but still, of course, if you, I would say, so that's my one perspective is don't compare where your home country is, and don't compare where you're going. Like, I'll get a better salary, I'll, of course it's money for sure, but think about it this way. Like, for example, let's take, so if something costs here, like going to a restaurant or or the expenses, you'll get paid according to that, right? So if India, if you consider, you will get a certain amount of salary, you will be living by means of that salary. So my take here is everything is getting very expensive. Absolutely, back in India or back in the US, it's getting very expensive. But of course, the conversion rate of dollars and rupees is always a mind blowing thing that gets me.
Motivating factor.
Absolutely, the motivating
Yeah.
factor. Like, if you convert the dollars into the rupees, yeah, my salary is pretty high, right? So, but um, I would say definitely there is a huge scope difference with the finances and expenses over here and where your home country is. But I would suggest, if you professionally grow along with your skills, keep learning and keep doing, because I have seen my cousins getting good jobs and good pay scale in India too. And I have seen people growing very quickly in the US. and I have seen them getting 350k 350k per annum, 500k per annum. So it's always that money that gets you, but also if you are upskilling every day, and if you are learning skills every day, I'm pretty sure it's going to be great position in any country you are.
Great, great. So, Bhavna, I saw one of your reel where you were talking that you transitioned from software engineering to business analyst. That reel kind of hooked me. So, I wanted to understand. A lot of people think that if you are into tech, you are in the best domain. You get the best pay, and you get to do a lot of nice work, innovative work. But you transitioned from tech to non-tech, like from coding, you wanted to come into business analyst role. So, I want to understand why did you make that decision, and how did you prepare for this transition?
Absolutely. I'm glad you asked this question because I get this question every week from a new person I meet. So absolutely, because usually in current market or when I wanted to choose a domain, like, okay, what should I do my master's in, or what should I even do my bachelor's in? So everyone suggests like get into tech, computer science, computer science, computer science. That's the only thing I could hear in my family. So I started as a computer science graduate, and then did 6 years of education, right? Like 6 years of education in computer science. But then I started my career as a software engineer. Absolutely, I've been working at a big tech, and I was delivering whatever I'm doing. I'm getting into the meetings. I'm getting tasks and I'm submitting it. I'm getting tasks. I'm submitting it. But I was always I always had this niche even from my childhood. Like I'm a people person. Even though I was introverted, after coming to the US, I have uh, realized is I'm a people person. I want to be in front of the screens, not in the back of the computers. I'm not saying software engineers are just in the behind the screens, but for me, I want to be talking in the meetings in a way that I understand the business. I understand the why before solving anything. That has always been my thing, because whenever I was given a ticket at the company I was working for, and my manager used to ask me like, okay, this is the deadline, this is the problem we have, and go and solve it, right? But I was always asking these questions and looking for those questions in my leadership meetings. So saying that, okay, why are we even solving this? So that why got me. And of course, software engineers or developers are not included in most of the big meetings or the leadership meetings, right? So we used to hear it from my manager and stuff, but we never got the answer of why we are solving something. But I always wanted to talk to
Yeah,
the
right.
customers. I always wanted to talk to the user who submitted the ticket. So I have decided, okay, I think I'm getting burned out because I'm submitting it, I'm doing the deadlines are solving and everything is going, but I'm still burnt out. It's not just because of the work, because there are so many questions that are not getting answered. So I was like, look, this is not something I wanted to do in the long term. I was always a person who was looking at the bigger picture. Because if I'm doing something right now, it's not like, okay, I got this job and I need to get this done to survive. No, I am ready to take risk in such a way that I'm going to build my future.
Right, right. So, guys, it is your sign. Like, if you are looking forward to transition in your career, be it any career, your why should be really strong. That why do you actually want to do it? Because a career pivot can make your career or break it. So, you have to be very mindful towards it. So now, Bhavna, understanding the part that what was your step-by-step roadmap that you followed to get a job as a BA?
So I was working at big tech as a software engineer for sure. So I had this burnt out, and I had many days where I was just broke because of not getting answers to all of the questions. And how should I navigate all of this on my visa? Because that's a major thing, right? When you are moving countries,
Yeah.
you are an immigrant, and you have to navigate through a lot of challenges, because you can't just hop onto a, okay, this startups looks good, I can just get through it. No, you cannot easily hop onto different jobs, right? You have to be very strategic, because the company needs to sponsor you, and that's the main thing, the visa constraint, right? So I'm glad I have a mentor who I proudly say that I'm grateful for her throughout my journey. So that's my first step. I reached out to the person, I reached out for help. So I started working with her on understanding what my next role should be. Because she wanted me to convert that burnout into something
Right.
that I love. There are many Sundays where I looked forward to, in the sense like, okay, I hope the Sunday just stays and the
Oh,
Monday doesn't come. So I was in that state, really. I was in that state. The one thing in my reels also I mentioned, like my first step of journey started with a layoff. I'm glad
okay.
that happened. I know it is like a controversial thing, but I got laid off from the big tech because there are layoffs happening, and with the recession that is happening from
Right.
2022 in the US. So I was laid off. I'm glad I was already seeing the bigger picture, and I started working with my mentor in December, and I got laid off in
Okay.
February 2023. So I was already, we were doing little stuff, like not, we are not vigorously looking because I already have a job
Right,
and I have
right,
something
right.
to take care of. So we were just trying to understand, okay, how the market is and what I want to do, just understanding what I love and stuff. So then I understood the team dynamics and organizational structures that going on, and something's gonna happen. So from February we have started very vigorously. So the first step we did is the role clarity. So whenever you are burnt out or you're exhausted in your current job, as you mentioned, before understanding why, get to understand what
Right,
you want to
right,
become.
right.
Like what's your bigger goal and what can get you there. Like what's your first smallest milestone you can make to get into that north star. I always suggest everyone to have a north star. It may be impossible, like it may seem like a biggest thing, but have
Right.
that north star and then start with small milestones. So that's what I did with my mentor. So first we got our role clarity. So then she suggested me two roles, business
Right.
analyst or data analyst. So then we sat down. She gave me a homework. She want me to go through LinkedIn job descriptions for both the roles, and she wants me to write down the keywords, skills that are
Right.
needed for both the roles. And I did that, and then she asked me like, what, now look at the day in a life of those people. There are
Yeah.
many videos in the YouTube, right? So I saw those videos, and then she was like, which feels more comfortable but yet challenging to you, right? Looking at the bigger picture. So, so then I have decided business analyst. I went through a lot of stuff, so I was like, business analyst seems right to me at this point of my life. So I have decided we are gonna go with business analyst, and the next stage is very important stage that we got through, is revamping my resume and LinkedIn completely. Because my resume and LinkedIn yelled that I'm a software engineer, right? And why would someone hire a software engineer to be a BA on their team who doesn't
Right.
even understand business? That doesn't even make sense, right? I know that I understand business, and that's the thing that is getting me into the
Right.
transition, but they don't know. If you are a new person, you don't know, like, okay, Sai is really good at understanding business, but how would you know, right? So I have to prove myself. Resume and LinkedIn are two pillars for your job search in any country
Right.
or any role. So those are my two pillars. Even right now, they are the biggest holders of what I'm going through right now. So we revamped completely resume and LinkedIn to yell that, uh, I don't want my resume or LinkedIn to say that, okay, software engineer transitioning into BA. No, it needs to yell that software engineer who's ready to transition into BA, who already has an experience working as a BA. Because you have to show that you had different hats and you can understand the role
That's
you
true.
want to
That's true.
transition into. Because evidence proof is
Right,
everything
right.
in this world. Without your proof of work, no one's gonna hire you. Even even your cousin who has her own company won't hire you.
True.
I'm serious. Yes, this is because you have to prove your job. Like, you can't come to conclusion that, okay, I have this person, they can refer me. No. And then only after both of them are perfectly yelling that I'm ready for a business analyst role, I started applying strategically, for sure. I put up application, and then I found the recruiter's emails, and then I revamped my resume to the job description. Keywords. I added keywords. Every application took 20 minutes. I was ready. So I was applying 5 to 10 jobs, like 5 jobs every day. Not like 100 applications or anything. I'm being strategic, I'm being targeted. So then my mentor helped me revamp couple starting few resumes, and then I did it on my own, and then I applied, and I reached out to the recruiter with a personalized message. So be honest about your journey. That's my thing. Like, if you are transitioning from
Yeah.
something, be honest about it. Just tell them that you did this previously, you are transitioning into this because you have the skills and because you think
Right.
you will be the right fit. So your email should contain this. So I sent that to the recruiter called me, and we had this conversation and why I'm transitioning and stuff and my responsibilities and roles currently. And she was impressed and then moved to the next round, and that is how I landed my job as a business
Great.
analyst. So I had two interviews with my hiring managers and team members. So that
Great,
is how it
great,
went.
great. And yeah, so for the business analyst role, I want to understand the skill set that you developed and the resources that you followed.
Okay, absolutely. So, coming down from a software engineer to business analyst, I have to understand the business for sure, right? So, even in my, so that started with changing my perspective in the role that I'm already in, because that's the biggest boon. You can use your current resource as the best resource for the transition. So, if you're, so I was working as a
Right.
software engineer, right? So, I started talking to business analysts in my company. I started talking to business analysts on LinkedIn. I started to look at their business, their paths, their how did they get there. The question I asked is, if I am a BA in this team, in this very team, what responsibilities will I have? How my day would look like,
Right.
right? Because I had a project manager in my team, so she knows business more than I do, right? More than as a software engineer. So I set up a one-on-one with her, and then I asked her questions like, okay, if you think I start as a business analyst in this very own team, how would you see that transition happen? So I asked, I always talk to people who are 2 to 3 steps ahead of me. That is one thing. And also, my mentor helped me walk me through days because her company has business analysts in her company. So she explained me what challenges they had and how I can transition. And also, one more exercise that helped me is during I was selecting the role, and after I selected the role as a business analyst that I'm going to transition into, we started mapping out what skills I already have and what are the gaps I need to fill.
Okay, what are those skills and what are the gaps? I want to understand that.
Yes, so for the business analyst, absolutely. For the business analyst, it's stakeholder management, requirements gathering, documentation, right? So those three are main, and communication. Of course, as a software engineer, you communicate, but it's very minimal,
Very minimal. True, true.
right? Because you focus more on your work, like deep focus blocks
Yeah.
and stuff, right? But when you come to a business analyst, you have to communicate a lot in the way, like
Yeah.
it's two way. You have to provide more data, you have to collect
Right.
more data, right? You listen a lot, you talk a lot, for sure. That's what I do every day in
Yeah.
my job currently. But so then I was like, I started doing that in my current job. So whenever I was
Yeah.
given a task, because I'm still in December, right? Remember? So I'm still in December. We had until December, January, February until my layoff happened. So I got very strategic in those 3 months. Like, I started whenever I was given a problem, took a step back and I started gathering requirements, like talking to my project manager on who created this ticket and why they created it and why they what variations they had, and requirements gathering. And then also I was doing stakeholder management. I was talking with project manager, my managers, and talking to the emailing customers with the workflow of course, chain of command and stuff. But I was talking, so I was stakeholder managing, and then requirements gathering, and of course I'm communicating. I'm developing those skills in my current role with whatever I can control.
Right.
And also I've been talking to people, industry people, on LinkedIn, on different mediums. I've been talking to in-person people who transition into BAs. So those are the main three things, because I'm coming from technical to non-technical, right? It would be different if you're going from non-technical to technical. Like, you can learn coding, you can learn SQL, you can learn different languages, right? But it's
Yeah.
different. These are the soft skills you need to learn, which you can't learn in courses.
Right. But Bhavna, like let's say, if someone, for example, because people who are looking to the podcast, maybe some are from tech, some are from non-tech, so for us to tell them clearly that what all skill sets they have to develop, I would want you to talk about the hard skills as well. And is it actually needed in the role? That's the major question, that even if you know good coding, is it required in your day-to-day life?
Absolutely. So let me explain you a quick thing. So when you want to become a business analyst, right? There are different types of business analysts. So that is when you need to understand the why and what role you're getting into, because there are organizational BAs, traditional BAs, technical BAs, domain specific BAs. So what BA
Right.
you wanna become? I At that point of time, traditional BA looked familiar to me, and like I want to target specific domain in retail, and they had this traditional BA role. So they depend on what organization needs are, what technical skills you need, but most of the part you don't need to code as a traditional BA. You need not code, but you need to have the knowledge, right? You definitely need to understand the code, because when you're gathering requirements, if you're gathering requirements for from a customer or from a non-tech person or like a project manager, they will give you requirements saying that I want this so and so. But when you're talking with engineers, when you're talking with developers, because BA is a bridge between developers and stakeholders, like with engineering team
Right.
and business side, right? So you have to understand technical, you need to have that technical knowledge, in the sense you don't need to know how to code, but you have to understand the terms that engineering teams are talking. Because if they say like okay, I think the API integration can take lots of time, you don't need to know how
Right.
to code or how to create that API and how to make it all work. That engineers will take care of. But if you want to talk to stakeholders with a non-technical knowledge, how would you gonna do? Because you are the bridge, right?
Right.
So understanding code is very important, but not writing the code, to be specific. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Apart from this, what else? Like coding could be any language.
Yes, definitely. Any language. That's one more thing I get asked most of the times, and I see people having so much confusion in like, what language should I learn or something. Remember, every coding language is same. The syntaxes are different, but people suggest Python more, because Python is easy to learn, because there are less complexities, and it's more automation kind of a thing, because AI uses Python too, right? So that's why people suggest learning Python. But my suggestion to everyone who wants to learn to code or whatever, like having that technical knowledge, if you want to learn to code or learn any language, start with one. Don't jump between everything. Get familiar and get perfect in that one language. If you're learning Python, learn 100% Python. If you're learning Java, learn 100% Java. Don't try to correlate to, okay, if I start writing this code in Python, how would it look in Java? No, no, don't do that. Learn one coding language perfectly, then see how you can do it in second language. It will be more easier.
So, considering the fact, Bhavna, that let's say who wants to come from non-tech to BA role, can you please tell us that what all hard skills, soft skills we have already talked about, what are the hard skills that they have to learn, and what are the best reliable sources for them to prepare?
Absolutely, yes. So, if you are transitioning into a business analyst, I would definitely suggest understanding. Listen, I'm not again saying like learn to code as soon as possible, nothing. So, understand one programming language, understand one database language, right? So, try to learn SQL. SQL is simple. Just try to understand SQL, Excel. So, one data visualization tool, one programming language, and one query language. Start with them. And for me, I definitely say YouTube is my biggest flex. I graduate every day from YouTube University. I joke about this with my teammates too, and teammates love that. So there's internet is rich with skills. So that's why I never suggest anyone to taking courses
Yeah.
or like certifications. I never suggest anyone taking certifications, because they're an add-on for sure. But start doing it, because you pay certifications, you are still in that learning phase, but you need to do the action,
Right.
right? So if you're starting to learn a query language, build a side project, build a simple project, like be practical. So I would say start with maybe Python, SQL, and Tableau. One is data visualization. So you can, if you start learning these three, you can actually create a complete application,
Right.
right? So I would suggest starting with those three basic frameworks, like one coding language, one data visualization tool, and one query language.
Okay. So another question that you said that before you started your preparation or actually transitioning, you already made your resume and your LinkedIn in a way that it talked that you are looking for a transition, right? So and also you mentioned that we have to be specific that we have done any projects or why am I exactly doing it, right? So what if a fresher is just starting and he's learning the skills? How do that person justify their LinkedIn or resume because they hardly have projects? So how do we get that in the initial stage of preparation? How do we work on the project as well as the internship if we want to look forward for?
This is my favorite question because my first step, I always suggest any professional looking to transition or just build their personal brand and become visible to the world, is create a portfolio. So you start creating a portfolio and putting everything there, like dumping everything there. So I have my personal portfolio. How much small your project is, no one cares. They don't look at the scale of your project.
Right.
They look that you're doing something. So I would suggest creating, so that's what I said, like when you are learning courses or doing anything, be practical, do the action rather than just learning.
Right.
Because learning, you can keep learning every day, like
True.
every second, but until you do the action, no one knows, even not even you can be confident, right? Unless and until you have a project to show, you can't just yell at people like I can become this, I can become this. No. If you have something to show, it will speak by itself.
Right.
Like, picture is worth thousand words, right? So it's like that, project is worth something you cannot tell. So
Right.
people, so start by creating small projects and add like a, so if you're a tech person, add it to a GitHub. If you're a non-tech person, I use Canva. I use Canva, and I created a professional portfolio and added all my case studies into that. So just whatever you're creating, you make sure you have a cabinet to store all of them. So whenever you are reaching out to people, it's very important to let them know what you provide along with what you are asking them. So if you have a portfolio, you can just say, okay, this is so and so I have already worked on. I would love to get your thoughts on this because I have seen that you are working on a similar project. How professional that it would look.
Right.
And if I get those kind of messages, I'll reply immediately because I love looking at people's work and I love reviewing them and learning from them. So create small projects and create a hub for yourself. And even if you're a fresher, even if you're a professional, you will have something to learn because you, if you are looking at a career transition, you are doing something, right? You are very passionate about it.
Right.
No one just looks at career transition if they're not serious about their career. So if you are serious about your career, you need to do the action, you need to create projects, you need to have a portfolio under your name. I suggest that that is my first step. Create case studies, very simple case studies. You need not even create big applications. Even small, if you did a front end, just put it there and you can play along with it. So having a portfolio is very important, and you can add that portfolio on your LinkedIn as well as on your resume. I have my portfolio link on my resume too.
Makes sense, yeah. So now when you make projects or when you make case studies, how do you get those ideas or where do you search for ideas, or if in case you need any guidance in between, where do you search for it? Is it just YouTube or any other sources you follow too?
So, to be very honest, I trust Google and YouTube a lot in my learning career, and now AI. Absolutely AI. Take advantage of it,
Yeah.
guys. Like AI will not take your job. The person who uses AI takes your job. So, I use AI every day. I use AI like seriously every day, and for my content creation, for my job, and everything. It is very surprising. You can get ideas like you can ask AI the prompts, or you can even Google, like, okay, like in AI, if you can ask like a prompt like, okay, I am looking to transitioning into this and this, can you give me like a clear breakdown on what I need to build and any ideas I
Yeah.
can build my portfolio in to showcase my work. So like, I'm currently in this role, I want to transition into this. What are the exact steps I need to make, or what exact projects I need to create? And also, I would suggest sharpening your brain every day, in the sense like, if you're using, okay, I'm right now using this mic, so just look at that, what purpose it is solving, and this can be a project, really. So
Yeah.
like, every small thing around you, you have everything near you, just you have to understand how to use that resource. So if you start questioning, asking questions, in the sense like, if you ask like, why do I have this chair, why do I have this water bottle with me, so you start asking why a lot. With everything that you use, you'll get ideas automatically. Like, have that ideas bank. That is also one thing I suggest. I always have on my notes app, like, randomly when I'm traveling, or randomly when I'm in a middle of the meeting, I get an idea, and I open this notes app on my phone and I dump the ideas in there. Because whenever you sit to study, or whenever you sit to, okay, now let me think what I need to work on, you will never get ideas. Like, trust me, I
Yeah.
have been there. You will never get ideas or you'll never be focused. So it happens randomly,
Yeah.
right? So I have a complete ideas bank that I want to create for to progress in my career, and I open that and I see that I have something as a backup, right? So you can take
Yeah.
an idea and you can just create a project from it. So don't think of it like, okay, where do I need to get ideas or something? Because everything around you is an idea, everything around you is a product, everything around you is a project that you can work on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, right. Okay, very interesting conversation, but it is stretching a lot. So I want to come like a step back and how do we wind this up? So one very very important question, like which people generally ask, that in the interviews, what type of questions are asked to you as a BA? In your case, you were experienced, like, but you were fresher in the role. So what type of questions were you thrown with?
I was so nervous while transitioning into business analyst, because I know that when you're converting from a technical role to non-technical role, there will be more of a business side questions, in the sense like behavioral type of questions. People want to understand your personal personality and your cognitive behavior, rather than, can you solve this, like, can you use this language, this specific language, or this specific coding function, right? So that is how, so my interview experience was very great, I would say. Because one thing, my recruiter and my hiring manager made me so comfortable. Like, what I love most about BA interviews is how conversational they are. And in any interviews, I give this advice to many people, like, don't get nervous. Of course, interview nervousness is so much there, but think of it like a conversation just between the person before you. Don't think about company, don't think about anything. Just make it like a conversation. Like, make it like a conversation, start with like, what are they doing and stuff. So the questions I got were like very problem solving. Like, if you are in this situation in your company and you are given this problem, what you're going to do? And the format I followed, which I learned from my mentor, is STAR method. Anytime if anyone asks you a question in an interview, take a step back, pause, breathe in, and think. Start answer like, with a situation, task at hand, action you took, and results. That will make it so much easier. So the questions I got are definitely so we lack. So you are given a problem, and I'm trying to remember the interview process that I had long back, but still. So in yeah. Mhm.
No, no, it's just a second, not exact question, but if you can tell the type of questions are asked and the areas that are covered majorly in the interview. So that would help. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, so tech, if there are very less technical questions, because I chose traditional BA again. So where, but I also talked to people who had technical BA roles. So they weren't asked to code or do anything, but they asked to think like a problem solving thing. Like, okay, if you are given this problem and these are the constraints you are, how are you gonna solve it? that is the most behavioral questions you'll get in the business analyst roles. Like, okay, you are in this current situation, what you're going to do? Because they want to think that you can collaborate between the stakeholders, the different divisions, right? So they want to understand how you can look at the problem, because asking that why is very much important, even
Yeah, yeah.
for the recruiters or the interviewers. So behavioral questions are more important, and the most important question and which you need to prepare is, I would definitely say, it's tell me about yourself.
Yeah.
The most important question I ask everyone to prepare is tell me about yourself. So that is very important question. You think like, can't I just speak about myself? When interviewer asks tell me about yourself, you will even stumble upon your name.
And that question makes the whole, like, it decides the direction of your interview, to be very honest. Where is it going to go?
Exactly. Exactly. I definitely agree with that, because so when you're making a conversation, how you start? Like, you start with your name for sure, but when you're talking to a complete stranger, you don't
Yeah.
just say, "Hi, I'm Sai," right? You see, like, you have to have that elevator pitch to yourself every
Right.
time. Even if you're preparing for interviews or not, just prepare yourself in a way that next minute you're going to talk to a stranger and introduce yourself.
Yeah,
So
basic.
that, yes. So I think the format to answer that question is very simple. Start with your name, and, like, where you're currently working, and one thing you're proud of, one thing you did, one thing you're really proud of, because everyone has something that they're proud of, I'm sure.
Right.
Never say that you're not proud of anything that you did in your work.
You cannot say
So
that.
start with that. You cannot say that, yeah.
Yeah.
So definitely, so that makes people listen, and end with asking something about them. So that is my thing. So, like, interviews can be very conversational, because that is how my interview experience was. Like, I had very conversational interviews, so I was very comfortable asking those questions to them as well.
Amazing, amazing. It was really fun talking to you, Bhavna. So, coming to the last question, just any advice that you want to give to people who are looking for the transition?
Absolutely. As I mentioned, network building, it's a long process, but people um, love to talk and love to refer you. Let me say it again, because people, you think that referrals are hard. Yes, referrals are hard, but people love to refer you. They can automatically refer you, because I got a referral. I i just had a coffee chat like twice with them, and they only suggested that they had a role in their company. I didn't even ask them. I didn't even ask. So build your network. Build your network. So that's how I mentioned, like, I got my mentor, right? I talked with them, I reached out to them randomly, but now I have a mentor. Start building that network, and keep your resume and LinkedIn up to date. And so use keywords up to date, talk to people in your transition, and always talk to people who are 2 to 3 steps ahead in your role,
Right. They can guide
in
you
role you're
best.
transitioning into. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
So that's the main thing. But never lose hope if you get rejections. Rejections are very, very, very common. I went through it, my friends went through it, big professionals went through it. So rejection is not like a stopping point, it's
Yeah.
something that you can learn from. So don't take rejection personally, because just keep doing it. Just keep doing it, you'll
Yeah.
get noticed and you'll get there. Absolutely, I'm a live example. So I already transitioned from a SDE from to a BA, even without like a biggest challenges. Like, I might have gotten into challenges, but I had the right support system because I built it. I had the right strategy because I asked for help. So
Right.
you have all the resources with you. So just um, work on yourself. Just understand the why before starting why you're transitioning. Understand the, like, even asking before the question, like, how can I transition? I'll ask everyone, like, why are you transitioning into, why do you want to transition? That's
Right.
the question will give most of the.
True, true, true. Awesome. So it was really, really amazing talking to you, Bhavna. Bhavna's LinkedIn link I would give in the description, And also, she is very active on Instagram. She keeps sharing about her journey, what is she preparing, how does she prepare, and a lot more. So you can follow her on Instagram too. So thank you very much, Bhavna, for giving your time and sharing your experiences with us.
Thank you, Shivang. It was amazing talking to you. Yes, I would say I would love to help people, talk to people, help with whatever I can do to share my journey, and whoever in the similar journey, I want to learn from them too. So please reach out, and also good luck with your career transitions.
Thank you so much, guys. Guys, I hope you like the podcast. So if you love the podcast, don't forget to hit the like button, share it to your friends and family, and subscribe to my channel. And don't forget to hit the bell notification so that you get notified whenever I post a new video. Thank you so much.